a little bit about kind of a daily mobility routine and kind of some of the missing things that they're talked about, but they're not really emphasized enough. And one of them is from kind of that turn of the century, the 1800s going into the 1900s. There's just a lot of people in that era. It was called physical culture. Talk about physical training, overall health, and people who did large-scale group work with hundreds or even thousands of people on a field doing coordinated gymnastics, to individuals that we still talk about today like Eugene Sandow, Edwin Checkley, just people who oftentimes came from really poor health and overcame that through regular training, just attending to their overall health, not just trying to kill themselves at the gym. And one of those things that is often missing, because we see all these quaint movements and they're doing all this stuff, and like, what's the deal here? One of the things missing is that people think there's magical choreography. There is not. What you do want, however, is you can contract your muscles as you're moving. So if you think of a bodybuilder going through their posing routine, or Bruce Lee, doing empty-handed, getting ready to psych out the guy that he's about to fight, there is a lot of work going on. Muscles are all firing, everything's working, and if you don't have access to putting load on your muscles, let's say weights were not as common, not as readily available, but you could contract your muscles and do all these coordinated gymnastics routines or light dumbbells or Indian clubs, then that stuff starts to make sense. So that's a long introduction. Let's get right into it. So here we're doing rotations. Again, for all this stuff, I don't want to keep saying the same cues over and over. Generally speaking, tighten things up more than you think you have to. Butt tight, legs tight, middle, and then squeeze the jaw. And also keep your neck steady, so tongue to roof of your mouth. So let's get into this. First, it's just a flat rotation. So never letting stuff disengage. I'm always working. You can also do this with the feet planted. But again, don't try to over-rotate your lower back. You can take this to a diagonal. Now I am breaking the plane here, so I'm not just bringing this up, I'm working this up and back. And my foot's coming up like I'm in a golf ball, shoelaces following the ball. Do your reps one side, then to the other. And let's keep that theme going of rotation and with shoulders. Feet go close together, grab this in thirds roughly, and then top hand has a full grab at the bottom. You just got the thumb and your forefinger. And again, more stuff working than you have to. So I'm not just going side to side on this plane. I'm letting this top side come a bit forward, and then up, and then forward, and up. Then let's work the hip hinge. So if you need to, this is the introductory level. Fingers go behind your head, knuckles go on your tailbone, and you can start with your feet wide. That's a little easier in the lower back. Grab the ground, and don't go crazy hard arch, kind of sticking your chest out or let this fall apart. Keep this closed. Hinge the hips back. You should feel quite a bit through the hamstrings, and then work your way up. So when in doubt, start with this version. You can advance it, depending on your shoulder mobility. Hold this against your collarbones, and then again, pull those elbows back, so my back muscles, all these guys along here are firing. Like so. If you got the shoulder mobility, you don't want to put this behind your neck, push, bring this across your upper back. Again, keep all this locked down and tight, hinge, and then work your way up slowly. And if you really want to have some fun with this, go single leg. So I'm going to hold this out here, and hinge back, so just slightly bend, and then up. If you want, you can give those quads some attention, also get a nice stretch going this way. Right up. Swing it back. Do your reps on one side, then the other. Then the long back stretch. You're going to give the shoulders some attention again. So here again, don't pop open. Push this guy against your lower ribs. And again, not letting my neck do anything funky like a Napoleon Dynamite. Looking straight ahead. And then straighten that out. Knees are going to stay a little bit soft. Bring it up. Really squeezing that. And then bring it up. Push the heels of the hands. Straighten that out. Up and over. Then, next up, the toe squat. So if any one of these don't work for you, that's fine. Just go ahead and skip it. I love toe squats. So here, instead of pitching forward slightly, I'm going to stay pretty much on this vertical axis. So my toes are turned out, heels are kind of close together. I'm going to come down, the heels are going to lift up. Excuse me 1 second. And I'm going to come up on my toes, touch down. So you can hold onto a wall, you can hold onto a chair. You don't necessarily need this guy here, but if you got it and it's helpful, go ahead and use that. Then regular squats. Here, backs of your hands are going to go on the inside of your ankles. And then, so when in doubt, extend the fingers. So if you're doing this empty-handed, go here. You can hold on to this guy. But I like to do this empty-handed because it opens up to this next one. You simply push your hands against each other. A little extra on the ankle and the hip. Shift that around and just lock it in place. Stand back up. And then come on down. A little extra. And just feet flat, lock it in. Stand up. So a couple different squat iterations. Then let's go on split squats and lunges, because this is an area that a lot of people have trouble transitioning from 2 feet to a split stance or a single leg stance. To make this easier, elevate your front foot, and you want to have whatever you're holding onto, whether it's a staff or a chair or a wall, that's your side here that's open. If I go here, everything's pulling to the side where that front leg is. So then from here, focus on the forward, the down will take care of itself. And again, only go as far as you can do well. Still keeping everything lit up, not shutting off the middle, not shutting off anything else. To make that a little harder, do that with both feet on the same level. So the higher up your front foot is, the easier this is. The lower down it gets, the more challenging it gets. And since I did say it, kind of implied it, let's do a quick set here with the back foot elevated. Oh, isn't that fun? Just like that. Then let's move on with some side lunges. Get some adductors, some inner thigh work here. This guy had a shot. So, if you've got a line, that is your east-west line. So when in doubt, start with your feet planted. Shift your weight to one side. You can flat back, and then up. I'll show you here at a 45 degree. So again, here's my east-west line. Again, I'm staying hips and shoulders parallel to that. And then to make that more challenging, more of a goblet squat type arm position. Again, you don't want to let that thigh just kind of jam up in your gut. So give yourself some room. That one's awesome. And then last up, around the world, just loosen everything up, tie it all together. So latch onto this, feet grab the ground, and when you're doing a circle, just break it into a 4 count. So kayak here for 1, up for 2, turn for 3, down for 4. And simply, if you start getting dizzy, just look at one thing that's not moving. You don't have to throw your head around. And then after about 5 or so, go ahead and switch directions. So simply kayak back to the other side, up, turn, bring it down. Again, go fairly slowly. Get more stuff working than you think you have to. And that is just a really quick overview, just a few ideas for a daily mobility practice.